Welcome and welcome back. We have a bit of a crazy switcheroo, or a handful of switcheroos, for this upcoming fight night that was supposed to be Albazi versus Taira, but not anymore. Now it's Park versus Taira. Let's go over this crazy card in the Apex. Okay, we got a lot of really cool, really interesting fights. Let's give it a dynamic breakdown, get to know what everybody's been up to, all the fun stuff. Feel free to grab your Hello Kitty and Friends mug if you have it. Our agenda, okay, crazy switcheroo. We had our main event until Monday, and then Albazi was taken out. Injury apparently, and in his place is unbeaten prospect Hyunsung Park. That's kind of exciting, but unfortunate for Albazi, and we hope he's all good. Also, Andre Lima recently was taken out also because of injury. But the last slash face of it all is that we are in the Apex, so we won't get the crowd's energy, and we hate that. We don't love putting our fighters into a lonely warehouse where there's no one to cheer, okay? Except for the select few family members that they may let in and then promptly kick out once their fight is over. Oh, how sweet. First fight of the night is Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlin Souza. This is going to be a dogfight. Piera Rodriguez is such an exciting fighter. La Fiera, 100%. Okay, LFA champ, made her way through the Dana White's Contender Series to the UFC and has been going 3-2. Piera has a very aggressive fighting style coming off of a decision win. The decision win grind is something she is very capable of because she just puts on the pressure. We love to see it. Her mom is her hero, and that pressure comes from this confidence of her durability, which she has 100% shown. She is a finisher who has never been finished. So 50% of her wins, and the other 50% coming from decision, nothing in the subland. She's got pretty good submission defense, but keeping it on the feet, that is where she likes it. She likes an aggressive fight on the feet. Don't give her space. If you give her space, she's going to set it up. She's got a lot of really cool lateral movement that she uses to set up the takedown. So with that lateral movement, she sets the takedown up and she's heavy on the control, which is a lot of how she gets those decision grind wins. She is so controlling in the octagon. And she's going against Ketlin Souza, Eskien Tandinha, aka Hot Headed. Ketlin Souza also has a pretty aggressive style when she gets going, an Invicta champ. She's also 3-2 in the UFC, making her way, coming off of a really exciting loss to Angela Hill. It was split, so it was a really crazy war, but Angela Hill, Angela Hill, output, 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 and she definitely outputted, right? Okay. And something about Ketlin Souza, if you may recognize her, is that she's the first ever person to get a finish in the sphere. So, shout out Usain Noche. And that was a really interesting fight up until then. It was very exciting. That rear naked choke, it put Gerard Way asleep, okay? Usually knockouts, her opponent 55% of the time, and then 33% decision, and then that lone sub. She has a very, very aggressive, hook and attack combo, kind of running forward with those hooks, a very aggressive style when she gets going. And she's a very humble person, so not naming names, just looking to be on the rise. These are both two women who are so aggressive in there and primarily get their wins via finish about 50% of the time, but the rest of it is decision grinds through maximum aggression. That is what they are good at. They are good at putting on a crazy brawl. And so I expect that. And I do expect this one to largely stay on the feet. I mean, Pereira might throw in a couple takedowns just to get some good control time in there, but I don't suspect this one will end in a submission, but I expect it to be a great brawl. Then we have a flyweight bout between Rafael Estevam and Felipe Bunes. Rafael Estevam, we have to thank him, Macapa, for stepping in short notice. Shudo champ, okay, thank you. Undefeated Rafael. Honestly, just a couple of days. He said yes, so we can thank him for that. He's been in the UFC just since 2023, so 2-0, making his way. He's a very complete fighter with his wins, I'd say pretty relatively evenly split with decisions, taking the cake for all of that. And he is all over you on the ground. Okay, on the ground and on the fence, this guy is all over you. So even though the submissions don't manifest themselves, the control in the grappling is 100% there, especially on the fence. We missed him all of 2024. Where were you, girl? Hope he was okay. He's a horse guy. He's a bartender. Fun gentleman. And he'll be going against Felipe Buenos, who was supposed to be fighting Andre Lima. So I wonder how he feels about the switcheroo. I'm sure he's fine with it. He's an LFA champ. He's been in the UFC since 2024, 1-1. He's a subist. Okay, very subist. 64% of his wins coming off of an armbar win. Okay, just to further that narrative there. And he's trying to get in there with that straight right. Okay, if you see Felipe, that straight right, that is how he's trying to get in there to get the takedown. But that's just how he's trying to make it happen. So watch out for that straight right. His only UFC loss is to Joshua Van. So that's aging well, right? It's aging better and better as time goes on. He's got a really sweet Dragon Ball Z tattoo. We gotta say that. It's on his arm. You can kind of see like a peek of it there. It's really, really cool. So he's a total nerd. We love that. And oh yeah, very vulnerable in decision. So that's kind of curious, right? So only 14% of his wins, finisher, preferably sub, but 56% of his losses. So it gets a little bit of gassed, but hey, all good. I do suspect this fight will have some really exciting ground moments. I mean, we have one like pure subist versus somebody who has a lot of action and ground control time, so may not manifest into submissions themselves, but when you watch Rafael Estevam fight, there's a lot of fence and he's on you. Okay, so let's see how this one goes. Kind of disappointed about no Andre Lima, but again, really happy that Rafael is stepping in to save the fight. Then we got a wacky, whacktastic fight with Nick Klein versus Andre Puliev. This one's at middleweight. Nick Klein, he's got quite the story. Blue collar is his nickname, and that's definitely coming from a real place, not just his rural upbringing, but he's got concrete skills. Okay, concrete is missing the E there, but let's ignore that. He has got concrete skills, and if you know anything about pouring concrete, that's no like funny business. That's some scary work. Okay, that's some hard work. Those are some real skills. So, blue collar, definitely earns the name there. He's also a BJJ brown belt coming from the Dana White's Contender Series. Right now, he's looking for his first UFC win, coming off of a TKO loss to Mansour Abdel Malik, who, come on, we know that he has heavy hands. So, and both of his losses are actually via knockout. So, looking to test that durability in the future. 50% of his wins are subo, so he's definitely subby. And one thing we can really respect about Nick Klein is he's a gamer. He once took a fight on 8 days' notice. Not everyone's gonna do that. He also loves Derek Lewis, and don't we all, right? We all love Derek Lewis. And he, as a country guy, he loves gardening, hiking, and just being country. And he's going against Andre Puliev. This guy's pretty quirky, pretty fun, interesting guy. He's actually a black belt in Kudo. I don't know anything about that. And, we have someone with construction skills. We got someone with pastry skills. That is almost a complete house. That is almost a whole house of skills. Let's go, okay? So that's pretty cool that he can cook pastries. I wonder which one is his favorite. He's also a gamer. He really likes Counter-Strike. We're starting with the non-fight info about Andre first, I guess. But when it comes to how he is actually in the cage, we're talking knockouts preferred. So we got a more of a subist versus more of a knockout king. And the ground and pound is where he finds himself. He's very, very good at finishing fights once they get to the ground. So pouring on those punches and making it so suffocating that the ref is like, that person is dead. And, that's that. And right now he's coming off of a loss to Christian Leroy Duncan, who is definitely an absolute star. That was a pretty cool fight, pretty grindy decision. And so he's looking for his first UFC win. They have that in common. And it's important to know, though, before that, he was on a previous 5-fight win streak, so riding a little bit of a high. It'll be curious to see how he comes back from that. So we got two guys, very quirky and in a very similar position. And I do think that overall, you can see a trend for sure when you have somebody looking for their first UFC win or looking to break a losing streak, just a little bit, there's a little bit more energy behind that. It could be more hesitancy, but a lot of times it's more energy. There's a little bit more at stake. I'm looking for a word and I can't think of it. It'll come to me. Perhaps there's a little more, maybe just a little more focus. I know everyone's really, really focused, but the stakes are a little bit higher. Both these guys, especially Nick, can be a pretty quick starter in there, so it'll be fun. Then we have a pretty curious matchup between Rodolfo Vieira and Tresean Gore at middleweight. Rodolfo Vieira is the black belt hunter, and he's very, very famous for his accomplishments within the world of BJJ. So while he is done a lot in the UFC as well, 5-3, it's important to understand that he is a world international BJJ champion. I mean, 5-time world champ. Like, this guy, he really does deserve to call himself the black belt hunter. Very, very impressive what he's done, not just in the cage fighting, but in like in BJJ, right? Let's go. So, coming off of a decision loss to Petrosky, okay, Andre, and that's kind of a weird one. I think a lot of people thought that that was going to be a kind of a fight for Vieira, not for him, but that he would have a bigger advantage than he did. I think a lot of people thought he was, supposed to win that fight. I think that's not very fair to Petrosky because Petrosky has a very strong wrestling and submission background himself, and I guarantee that he knew that that's what people were going to be saying. It was essentially like his biggest test, and I think he took it really, really seriously. That was a grapple off, okay? And yeah, when it comes to subist, 90% of this guy's win. So it's pretty much like that's the way or it's not going to be that way. And he's got a knockout win too. You got to throw that in there, right? And nay, a loss in that category as well. So definitely shown some durability in there. But, the black belt hunter, that says it all, right? We know. And he's going against Tresean Gore, who is actually a wrestler himself. He's coming off of a TKO loss not too long ago. So I hope the recovery is all there, right? You can't sub him though. You can't sub him. So the thing about Tresean Gore is he has a loss in submission, and it's 60% of his wins as well. So, curious. I think that's what makes this fight pretty exciting just on the surface level is that Vieira is pretty much that's exclusively how he gets his wins, and Tresean Gore has proven to be very defensive against submissions, and that he's a bit of a subby submarine himself. So, will it be a sub off, or will both guys kind of put that in the back pocket in favor of keeping it striking and not trying to out grapple? But you know what? I don't expect that from Rodolfo Vieira. He's going to want to be on the ground. I think Rodolfo Vieira is probably pretty excited about the prospect of giving Tresean Gore his first ever submission loss, and that would be a pretty good bounce back after not being able to get it done against somebody that a lot of people had less grappling accolades. So this one will be pretty cool. Gonna be some exciting stuff, and we will be on the ground. I mean, it's likely. Then we have some bantamweight moments with Nathan Fletcher versus Rinya Nakamura. And this is going to be our featured prelim. Nathan Fletcher, so much fun. We love this Cage Warriors guy. He is just too much fun. Love it, okay? He is living life in Subland. 78% of his wins and a loss. We love that. Very defensive on there. He is just on the up and up and up, okay? He's up and coming. He's a young man. His goal ultimately in there is to neutralize you. Okay, so if there's one thing about Nathan, it's coming out of his own mouth. That's what he wants to do. He wants to neutralize you, shut you down, and suffocate you, essentially. Coming off of a split decision loss, okay? So war. We're talking war. That definitely was a war. And that's the thing about Nathan, is that he's willing to go to war. I mean, one time they kicked him out because he had staph. They're like, you're not fighting, girl. That's too much war. But he did fight with a broken leg once. So we love Nathan because his heart, it's out there, okay? He's gonna put it all on the line. It's 100% how he goes, and he's gonna be looking to get in there and choke you, okay? Get in there and do something weird to you, shut you down on the ground. And he's going against Rinya Nakamura, okay, who is 3-1 in the UFC. He was inspired by watching Shudo, so never was a Shudo himself, but yeah, other than that, he has a wrestling background. He's coming off of a decision loss as well, which is his lone loss on his record. Big fan of the Von Flue choke, and he's never been finished in any capacity. This should be another really exciting fight with two guys who are trying to get back into the win column and have a lot of brave, durable energy that they're going to be bringing in there. I expect it to be pretty scrappy bantamweights. Both of these guys are very decorated on the ground, very effective on the ground, and Rinya is so aggressive. So I think that combination of someone who's really aggressive and then somebody who is looking to neutralize can be a really, really interesting combo, potentially capitalizing on some mistakes. I just know that this one is going to be really, really exciting. It's going to be very aggressive. I think we're going to do a lot of crazy rolling all over the mat. It's going to be a roll fest. That's why it's the featured prelim, because this one's pretty guaranteed to be exciting. Which leads us to our main card. First up, we have featherweights Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. Danny Silva, El Puma, he loves kitty cats. He's from LFA through the Dana White's Contender Series. Now he's 2-0 in the UFC. It's been going really well. He's only got one loss on his record, riding a major high, and it's coming off of a near loss with a split win over Almeida back in March. Pretty exciting stuff. Continuing that 4-fight win streak, not going to the world of Subland. 50% of those wins coming from knockout, and that lone loss is decision. So, pretty durable guy. Definitely a lot of momentum riding into this one. Danny Silva is exciting. And he'll be going against Kevin Vallejos, despite being a couple years younger. His record has a handful more fights because El Chino got to work quickly in the regional scene in Argentina, completely dominated. He had 4 title defenses in the Samurai Fight House, so that's pretty crazy. He did a lot before he made his way to the UFC, so got a lot of really meaningful work. I don't think he rushed his way. He's only 23, but definitely is ready. His lone loss, okay, is to Jean Silva, okay? So this is great, and he really wants revenge. He really wants to redo that fight, and I think that if he keeps it up, that we could get there, and that could be a really cool rematch. Coming off of a massive statement KO win. Oh my gosh, that was wild back in March. Okay, girl, he is a power puncher, and he really put that on display. Like, he definitely wants the knockout, and it shows in 73% of his wins. And again, that lone loss is the Dana White's Contender Series to Jean Silva. So we're painting a really interesting narrative here, Kevin. I like where this is going. This is going to be very awesome, super exciting, super deadly. I guess, like, by the numbers, it's likely to end in a finish. Let's see what Kevin has to show us, because we didn't get to see much in his first UFC appearance. We did not get to see much, so maybe we'll see what happens, if he gets dragged into some more deep waters. But this is going to be a great one. This one's going to be eyes on, because someone could go down at any moment. And then we have what could be the quirkiest fight of the night? This could be the quirkiest fight of the night. Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos at welterweight. You guys know Neil Magny, the Haitian sensation. He's a total legend. He's been in the UFC since 2013, 22-12, so almost his entire professional career. Just such a legend. Currently coming off of a loss to Carlos Prates, unfortunate knockout, but we know that Carlos is very, very powerful. And then before that, it was same loss, same kind to Michael Morales. And that's the thing about Neil Magny, is he's not going to say no to these kind of fights. Like, he is going to fight the toughest guys, the guys who are on the come up. He's not going to say no. And we love that. We love that for him. He's 100% a gamer. He's always going to take that challenge, and we're going to keep seeing that. Until the very end. We love it. Happy birthday. Shout out coming up, okay? August, we love to see that. He's on the activity grind. 59% of his wins come via decision, and it's because Neil Magny is just so active in there. I mean, he's so kicky, kickist 101. Like, the kicks are scary. They're down low. They're up the front. They're everywhere. And those definitely really add up, right? If we make it all the way to decision, the kicks are adding up for sure. And he's a nightmare against the fence. Okay, he's a Bilal Muhammad nightmare against the fence. Yuck. That is, I hate it. I hate it in the sense of, like, I hate visioning being there myself. Brutal position. And he does a lot of really good work against the fence. Like I said, always looking for the toughest challenges. He's great. He's a great, really interesting guy. He's really into home renovation shows, and it's because he likes to build things. And you know what else he's into that I'm very against? Is pizza with ketchup. Ew. Tell me which one of you eats that, because that is sick. And he's going against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, Capoeira, and oh boy is he. Okay, he's doing flips. And that picture, if you're wondering, is his face carved into a watermelon. Why? I don't know. But there it is. So now that's for you. Jungle Fight champ, we love that. Coming off of a TKO loss to Nitro, so both guys looking to rebound from a similar situation. Knockouts preferred, so 60% of his wins, and usually in round 1. 10 round 1 knockouts. So he's very, very powerful, super quirky, very clinchy, and he's very game. He's crazy. He stalks you like a cat, and then he kind of just pounces with the flying knee. We don't always see things like that. We love it. His favorite combination is probably you know, 3-4, 3-4, 3-4 knee. I love it. He's really sticky on the ground as well, and he's definitely a fight of the night guy because of all that crazy wackadoo stuff. So Elizu is crazy cuckoo wackadoo in the way that he fights and is a gamer, lots of power. And Neil Magny is all about activity, all about control against the fence. This is going to be a weird fight. I think we're going to have a lot of brutal clinch moments that make us go, ooh, ouch, you know, lots of that. And it's going to be probably, potentially, the quirkiest. Well, I don't know. We got a lot of quirksters on this card, but this is definitely a really fun, quirky matchup that I expect to be loaded with activity. Then we have Carol Rosa versus Nora Cornell, and this is a ranked bantamweight matchup. Carol Rosa has BJJ roots and a black belt as well, currently coming off of a decision loss to Eileen Perez, but she really turned it up in round 3. That was really cool. So something about Carol Rosa is she has got pretty good cardio, and she can definitely get the win in that last third round. We see a lot of fighters, they kind of rely on starting quickly, aggressive at first, and then they wane a little bit, not getting the finish. But in that last fight specifically, she really did turn it up in the third round. So love to see that. She's never been knocked out, so definitely a lot of confidence in her durability when she's marching forward on that decision grinds, but most of her losses are via decision as well. But, you know, just a testament to her durability and to her submission defense. Love that. Chopping at the legs, for real. Okay, the thing about Carol Rosa, watch out, because those legs are going to be beat up. They're going to be so beat up that I don't know. And a crazy example for that is her fight against Irene Aldana. That was crazy. That was probably one of the best fights of 2023. It was absolute blood and war. Both women were willing to die on that sword. Okay, willing to die on that sword, and we could see the leg kicks there. The leg kicks were so on fire in that fight. They dropped Aldana. They were crazy. That fight was crazy, but it's kind of a staple of Carol's game, is she's gonna chop at those legs for real. Nasty stuff. And her wifey is also in the UFC. We love that. And Nora Cornell, Nora Wonder, she is definitely a Wonder Woman, a UAE warrior, that's pretty cool, and went undefeated there and has had just one loss in the UFC. Her strikes are also very evenly split between targets, so we're going to see leg attacks on both ends. Right now, coming off of a pretty awesome sub win against Haley Cohen, that was awesome, aside from the missed weight. Okay, so she's missed weight 2 times, and we don't like that. I don't know what's going on there, you know, what we got to fix, but that's not a good look. All good. Yeah. And that was actually an unusual win for her. So she's not really a subber. She's definitely a stand-up girl and has never been finished. And she's a comedian on the side. I expect this fight will be very aggressive with the low kicks on both ends from both ladies. And so I'm kind of curious to see how that affects their movement in the fight. Like who's going to get, I guess, the most compromising leg kick first? Whose movement is going to be affected first? Because it feels like sometimes, you know, especially for fighters who do have that reputation for chopping at those legs, that if they can get a couple of nasty, say a dozen nasty ones in early, that the rest of that fight, the other fighter is completely compromised and totally on their back foot. But both these ladies kind of have that in their game plan. So yeah, just curious about that clash of legs. Then we have a lightweight fight between Elvis Brenner and Esteban Ribovic. Elvis Brenner is 3-2 in the UFC, doing very well. Took an MMA gap during the pandemic. I'm sure that was not intentional, just kind of forced. So we didn't see him from 2019 to 2023. That is so crazy. That's actually so long that he wasn't competing in any capacity. Oh my goodness. So he's here. Okay. He's got BJJ black belt, and you're going to see it. Definitely a submarine, you know, 69% of his wins. He's never been drowned, you know, never been finished himself. And he's really calm when that threat does arrive. So, you know, we've seen Elvis in some pretty scary positions where it looks like, oh no, is he going to get darsed out? No, he's not, because he's going to stay calm. He's going to move in the right direction. So you can count on that. There's a reason why he is yet to be drowned. Okay, because it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to do that. We've seen him in very tough positions. He's come out on the other side, coming off of 2 losses. Okay, we got to get back in the win column. 80% of his losses are coming via decision. And before that previous fight of the night, lots of like wacky dacky hand fighting from this guy. Like he's doing a lot of like stuff like this. Like, why are we doing this? I mean, I don't have actual critiques, but I'm just wondering, what is it's yeah. And the lateral movement is all about. The lateral movement is all about, and sometimes maybe it's too much. So he's moving all about, and then sometimes can, I'd say, land maybe less punches than are being thrown. Lots of wacky tacky hand fighting and lots of lateral movement all about. Esteban Ribovic, El Gringo, it's kind of a weird one. He won't back down. That's the thing about Esteban is he will not back down. He's a striker, headhunter. 50% of his wins are via knockout. And I think that the fights of his that go to decision, it's never with the knockout not on his mind. Okay, he's never been finished, showing a lot of durability in there. Coming off of a split loss to Hakpasarat, that was awesome. Okay, that fight was crazy. That was total fight of the night. And his last fight was fight of the night as well. I think the last fight was against Daniel Zellhuber. I'm pretty sure that was his fight before then. That would make sense. And so he is toe-to-toe down for war. And the thing about Esteban is he's going to be marching. He's going to be marching. So this fight, I think, will have a little bit of a cat and mouse moment. I think Esteban is going to be marching forward as he does, and that Elvis is going to be kind of like dancing around, trying to find a moment. Again, lots of lateral movement, lots of pawing, and I expect Esteban will just be looking to close it so he can get his brawl on. Because that's what he wants. He wants to get his brawl on. He's ready to bleed, not going to back down, fight of the night type. This one is going to be violence for sure because Esteban simply won't let it not be. Then we have our co-main event with Chris Duncan versus Matus Rebecki at lightweight. Chris Duncan, the problem, this guy's a lot of fun. Okay, Bellator, UFL champ, then back to Bellator, then Dana White's Contender Series, then back to UFL, then back to the Dana White's Contender Series. That's a journey. It was a journey, okay? It was a journey, but he's here, 4-1 in the UFC, coming off of a submission win. He's more of a knockout guy, though, which is really interesting. But he went on, is on a 2-fight Gilly streak. So that's fun. 2 Gillies in a row, right? Gotta have that. Thing about Chris Duncan is he's a quick starter. He's going to be running out of the gates, most likely. 6 round 1 finishes, and that round 1 energy is there. That round 1 energy is there. You will see it, definitely. Weird thing about Chris is he has it out for Terrence McKinney. So if you do hear him, or if he does win and they give him the mic, he would 100% is going to say Terrence McKinney. I would be very surprised if he doesn't, okay? And he's not usually living in the land of decision, okay? He's never lost that way, actually. But usually just not there. Not there, because he's quick. Chris Quickie, okay? Chris Quickie Duncan is trying to get it done. He's trying to be a problem in there early. And he's going against Matus Rebecki, who is, as Joe Rogan puts, he's a juggernaut. Yeah, he is. And that's why he calls himself a beastie. That's cute. That's cute little play on words. LOL. All right, love it. Dana White's Contender Series, yeah. 4-1 in the UFC. Interesting, right? Okay, he's coming off of a split win over Miktik Orobai. That fight is one of my favorite fights. Miktik Orobai, one of my favorite fighters. That was so crazy. It was insane. Okay, it was blood and war. It was fight of the night, as it should be. I'm pretty sure if you put that fight on pretty much every card, okay, I know, but it is such a fight of the night fight. It's incredible. And the thing about Matus is he's always going to put on a brilliant performance like that. So lone losses are from knockout because he puts himself in crazy positions. Crazy. The wins, though, are relatively evenly split because he's a very complete fighter. And just like Chris, his opponent, he's a quick starter. He's a quick starter. He's looking to run at you basically as quickly as possible, get in your face. He's a total star on the ground. I mean, it's crazy. Absolute control. And he's never been subbed. He gets a lot of meaningful damage in there, and he's nasty. He is just nasty, aggressive. It's crazy. This is a co-main event for a reason, because these guys are nasty, scary. They're very aggressive, and they do not have a slow style. Okay, it is running out of the gate for both of these guys. They might just clash heads because they run so fast. At each other. Really, though, this one should be a very quick start. It should be an incredible amount of aggression and violence. I am expecting blood and war. I am. I think that we have a finish potentially on our hands, but who knows? Both of these guys might just blood and war it till the end. It's 2 guys who shine so bright, both when they are going to war on the feet, but also getting that work done on the ground. Very active, very violent on the ground for sure. That leads us to our main event, a massive switcheroo. Hyunsung Park coming in to replace Albazi to go against Tatsuro Taira. Hyunsung Park here to save the day, peace of mind, undefeated. I mean, this guy 3-0 in the UFC and is riding a 13 fight win streak, rolled right into his professional career and has maintained nay a scratch since coming off of a rear naked choke win over Hernandez not long ago. They're calling him because we were desperate, okay? Subist. 50% of wins are coming via sub, but he has knockout power. We love Hyunsung Park because you can see it visibly in his fights that when he is connecting on the jaws of his opponents, that it is affecting them a lot more than when they are hitting him. You know, just trend wise, it's looking heavy in those hands. And he has a really cool, really diverse set of striking, especially in the hands. He's gonna go for the body when it's open. He's not gonna waste that space. I love it. He's a quick starter. He senses the finish, but no rush needed. He's definitely not a rusher. So quick to start, but he has control. He's got a lot of control in there. And only one of his wins is via decision. Watch out. He's hunting for that finish. He doesn't need to get it right away, but it's likely to happen. And he is going against Tatsuro Taira. What a fun fighter who is not blonde this time because apparently the bleach in Japan is like more gentle on your scalp. That makes me very curious. Anyway, he's a Shudo guy, been in the UFC since 2022, and his lone loss is the loss he's coming off of right now to Brandon Royval back in October. That was a 5-round fight, just very important to understand that, and it was fight of the night. So his only loss, but what he proved in that split decision is that he can handle the intense pressure. Okay, he can handle the intense pressure. He can handle the Royval magic because Brandon Royval is about as tough as it's going to get in flyweight. That is some tough stuff. And to take him to a split decision, that's really impressive. So Taira is so suffocating on the ground. 44% of his wins, and he's really looking to sneak the elbow in there and cause some damage when he gets you. So he can be, I would say, a little bit more tentative on the feet, but as soon as he gets his hands on you, a lot is going to happen. And I love that. He does have power in his hands as well, just like his opponent. He's never been finished. That's crazy. So both of them have that. And yeah, like I said, very defensive fighter when he's on the feet. It's an interesting fight. It's not the fight that we were expecting, but all good, all good. It's going to be an exciting fight nonetheless. I mean, can kind of guarantee that with our flyweights. They always get to scrapping, right? I mean, almost always. And I think that this one is going to have it all. I think it's going to have it all because both guys have a lot of lead in their hands, but both of them have a very complete ground game as well. Very, very complete. And I think they're going to want to use it. Want to take each other down, roll it all around. But this is going to be pretty huge, I think, for both guys, depending on what happens. I'd say a lot bigger implications for Hyunsung Park if he is able to win, because then that means he's going to get a ranking next to his name. That's pretty crazy. Going to propel himself, steps ahead. Not exactly as much to gain for Taira, but of course there are things to be gained. If he puts on an incredible performance, more people are going to know who he is. More people are going to want to see him challenge for the belt. This main event is also so interesting because not only does everybody have, or both guys have a complete arsenal, but they both, from what I've seen, they actually both have that where they're hitting their opponents, and when their opponents hit them, it doesn't seem like it's affecting them the same way. They both have power. The power differential in many of their matchups has been huge, so I wonder when they're together, who is going to be the more powerful fighter? Maybe nobody. Maybe they will be just as powerful as each other. What a crazy kitty. All in all, we have a lot of really great fights on this card. Unfortunate switcheroo, unfortunate apex, but it'll be a great, fabulous night. Here is our song of the week. Let me know, which fights you're most looking forward to, how you feel about the switcheroo, if you have any thoughts, and anything else. That is all I got. Peace out.